we'll see how it all goes. All right, my name is Roger, and I have put this webinar together just to start getting the information out there. This is the first webinar that we've been doing for this year. We plan to have about 25, 26 of them, one every fortnight, depending on public holidays and all the rest of it. So today we're going to talk about how business education and security education is really important and why you need to have an onboarding process to start off with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quite happily share my screen. And hopefully now you've got it, and we'll present that to everybody. Okay. When it comes to business security, we all know what is happening out there. So today we're going to cover why education has a return of investment for business protection, both whether it's the cost of doing the education process or the repercussions of having an educated staff group that you can actually use to utilize protection. We're going to talk about why education helps your staff to protect your business, what areas you need to educate your staff on, because there are very many areas that we need to focus on, how to educate your staff correctly, and what education programs do you need. So why education has an ROI for business protection? Well, for one, we have threats everywhere, and literally they are everywhere. We have accessing the wrong website. We have clicking on a link in an email. We have people who are actually targeting firewalls and intrusion detection systems. And all of these things build up to make a very large threat surface that we have to protect against. Now, although this webinar we're not going to talk about the hardware and the technology, what we are going to look at is how we can use education as something to protect ourselves in a better way. So it's easier for a bad guy to target your staff and or your clients than to get through a firewall. To get through a firewall is a complex process, takes time, takes effort, takes a fairly substantial investment in capital to get through a firewall. Whereas it's a lot easier if you do a bit of social engineering, do a bit of spear phishing to get someone on your staff to actually click on a link that actually then creates a connection between your system and the bad guy's system, so he can actually come in on that connection. That is why it's a lot easier for them to target staff. That's why we're getting this increase in spam, spear phishing, phishing, even now whaling is coming into its own as well. But education can actually have a significant return of investment in dollar figures, because it's a lot cheaper to educate your people to be very aware of what the threats are than put the technology in place to actually protect yourself against those threats. In addition to that, the actual cost of being compromised is significantly exorbitant. If you get compromised nowadays, not only do you lose the information, you may lose money in your bank account, but on top of that, you may also lose reputation, which stops you from making money as well. So there are a lot of benefits to actually educating your staff, and educating your staff is really a process that just can't be done haphazardly. And we've done a recent survey on a large number of small and medium businesses, not-for-profit organizations, and education of staff about business security is one of the lowest components that they think is important. So why education helps your staff to protect your business? Well, for one, it means that you can actually understand the tactics and strategies of a cyber criminal. By doing that, you actually see how that information is actually being utilized to target your staff members. which means that if you have an understanding of how the bad guys are going to try and get in, you will actually be more aware, you'll be more careful, and on top of that, you are not going to make those silly mistakes that 95% of people do to get compromised. In addition to that, we have the components of making understanding where the next attack is going to come from. If we know that there's an increase in malware coming through Internet of Things, then we can actually do something about it. So we have this understanding that the components of the business, no matter what they are, we have people who are going to focus on protecting them. In addition to that, if we increase awareness, increase understanding, we get away from these three big things that people say. I have nothing worth stealing, and everybody has got something worth stealing. We're too small to be a target, and with all the big automated systems out there, anybody is a target. If you have a connection to the internet, if you have a connection to the digital world, you are a target. Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how that connection comes about. And in addition, we've got nothing worth stealing. Well, not only do they target you for intellectual property, financial information, information about your clients, but they're also after your technology, because that is a stepping stone to the next step of a targeted system, so that they can go out and target someone else using your system, building trust, thinking that people are actually coming from you, not coming from anywhere else. So to educate your staff, what areas do you need to do? Well, we need to educate people in social media. Now, social media is the catch-all. We use it for marketing, we use it for sales, we use it for technical support, we use it to communicate with our friends, our family, and everything else like that. So when you're in a situation where social media is utilized by 90% of the population that the bad guys are targeting, then social media becomes a huge target. And that's why you see a lot of people get hacked, because they haven't changed their security settings. They've left them on the default settings that come straight out of the box when you create an account. One of the big things about places like Facebook, LinkedIn, if you actually try and tighten up your security so that people don't know who you are, don't know who your friends are, then actually those systems, those platforms get upset, because they'll come back and say to you, by doing this, you are making people who do not know certain features about you hard for them to find you. Stiff, sorry, but make it sure that you're secure. Don't worry about the platform you're on. We also need to understand how social engineering works. And social engineering really is a comprehensive attack system for the bad guys. Social engineering has two components. One is a hardware or a software related component, the piece of malware that they want you to run, want you to connect to, want you to do something with, and the actual process of getting you to do something. That second process, really important, because if we can educate people to look at a social engineering attack and go, yeah, that's bullshit, I'm not going to click on that link, it doesn't matter who you are. And the social engineering components of what the bad guys are doing now is building on trust. They make systems that look like they're coming from people you know, people you do business with. So we have the things like the Australian Post emails, we have ANZ emails, we have any banking emails. And fair enough, in Australia, when you get an email from one of the Texas banks, you know that it is a phishing scam. But if I had an account with a Texas bank, then I would be more willing to click on that link than if I didn't have. And this is what the bad guys are actually doing. So how do we educate our staff to a level where they're actually going to do something? Well, one, we need to have a basic program. Now, we've put together a basic program. This is not a sales pitch about that, but what we wanted to do was actually get people to understand that for a business to be protected, you have to actually explain how the internet works, how social engineering works, how things like email work, or how those systems are designed and targeted by the bad guys to get you to do something. So if you have enough information about how you protect yourself, then there's a very good chance that you will be a lot more protected than what you were previous. The other one is we need an intermediate program. And an intermediate program is something that when you've completed the basic course, gives you the opportunity to actually dig into other components, how that social engineering attack has come about, what has been done in the background. And the intermediate programs can also include systems or actual certification for systems out there. There's certifications that run including certified ethical hackers. So it's CEHs, who are people who are really, really interested in how the hacking people work. They sell their business expertise to other companies to make sure that the bad guys using the same techniques cannot get in at that level. But we're human, and this is one of the biggest problems that we've got with it. By having our attitude to humanness, we regularly need to update our training. Now, those updates in training are also very important, because we've also found that if you do a training session every 6 months, when it gets to 5 months, people are starting to forget the information. They're starting to cut corners. They're not thinking about the security components of the business, and they're now in a situation where they are trying to do work faster because they're not worried about the security of the systems. So what other things do we need to put in place that actually protect us from the bad guys out there? Well, we can use external sources. We can actually get a training package set up, delivered to your organization in such a way that it is tailored to your organization. If you've got people sitting around in the office, then you need something so that they understand what the office is working and what may be the attacks that come through. If you have a organization that has a supply chain, then you also need to know how you are going to protect the supply coming into that system that you've got in place, whether it's going to be protecting yourself from other people who get hacked, or whether it's going to be targeted at how you are going to protect yourself properly. In addition to that, we need to have top-up courses. And those top-up courses are really important when it comes to making sure that we have information readily available. The attacks systems, the threats change all the time. Fair enough, email and spam has always been there, but there has been other ways of targeting websites, targeting people, picking up USBs in car parks, for instance, getting into the gold copies of magazine CDs. All of these things mean that we have to have that thought of business security in the front of your mind all the time. And the last one is, there are so many online courses out there. We use a system called Cybrary, and it is free. Doesn't matter what course you want to do, lots of videos, lots of audios, lots of language about how to go to that next level. The trouble is with this is there's no basic comprehension of what needs to be done. So if I want to do a certified ethical hacking course, then I can do it through this. I can get my certifications or do the certifications courses so that I can take it to the next level if I want to. So this is why education has such an ROI on your business protection, because in this world that we live in, our digital world, the idea is to get as much protection in place without paying exorbitant amounts of money. Yes, you can put in high-end Palo Alto systems, and you can do antivirus, and you can do all the policies and procedures, and you can do your NIST audit and all this sort of stuff, but it costs money. Where training and education is a little outlay, $25, $30 a person, to get people thinking about what happens when they do get through all of those security systems you've got in place. By educating your staff, you help your staff protect your business. Not only do they help protect your business, but they also help protect themselves, Because if you're teaching them that passwords have to be complex when they get home, they're going to use complex passwords because it's started to be driven into their system, into their brains. We also know what areas you need to educate your staff. Passwords is one. Social media is another. Educating Wi-Fi, understanding how free Wi-Fi can be compromised and done at a level where it's very important that we protect ourselves from doing it. So instead of having your guys pick up their laptop and go down, sit in Starbucks and use their free Wi-Fi that I can compromise within about 30 seconds, then you know that they need to do something about it. And by doing the education, you can actually put processes and policies in place around those systems to protect yourself. And if you start to educate your staff correctly, then there is a really good on-flow to your business, because the attitude of the people inside your business will get better and better and better. And by doing that, we now have a comprehensive way of protecting our business so that the people are really important. So in 3 weeks, we are launching our Onboard program for all organizations. Now, the business security onboarding course is delivered in both video, audio, has a transcript. It also has a workbook so you can work through it. And the idea, there are 15 modules. Each module is about 10 to 15 minutes. And they each have a specific thing that we're looking at or talking about in each one. By doing that, we are getting people to understand that training is really important. Now, access to the beta course is free, but only to those who register. So if you go to that URL and register, when the course becomes available, you will get the course for free. We will give you a code. You can put it into the system that delivers the course, and you don't have to pay any money. Last and not least, if you want any more information about what's going on, jump on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are all my contacts. And by doing this, we're now in a situation where we want to educate people and get people thinking about how they protect themselves. As a business, as a person, cybersecurity and cybercrime are something that we really have to start thinking about at a level where people are taking notice of what's happening. So thank you very much for your time. This was going to be an hour, but I thought I'd cut it down, being the first of the year. And also, I'm quite surprised that technology hasn't failed us like it did at the end of last year, but we have made some changes. As we go forward, these changes will be more significant as well. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay, let's see what happens. Just wait for the stragglers to turn up. We'll see how it all goes.